Today, Luisangel Acuna gets some recognition from the MLB.com social media sites. We have two executives weighing in on the ever protracted Pete Alonso situation, and the Mets add a depth piece. We're going to talk about all of this on this edition of Mets Digest. What's going on, everybody? Flobo Boyce here with you, rocking this whole hot stove season. The Mets are making moves with amongst high expectations, and so to be able to sit here and basically convey my news and thoughts with everything that's going on is actually a kind of a dream of mine. Do us a favor, like the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend about the video. Myself, alongside Mike D'Angelo, we love the fact we're able to build this community to 3,000 strong and growing every day. Talk about growing every day. Let's talk about Luisangel Acuna, someone that was kind of a hidden aspect, a hidden gem aspect of a 2024 season. Definitely a high-ranked minor league prospect. Was slotted in for the team when Francisco Lindor went down with that back injury in the late stretches of that playoff push, and acquitted himself pretty well to the point where some of our armchair GMs at home were saying, no, whoa, Luisangel Acuna is a non-negotiable trade piece. Well, the good times are rolling with him because he's currently in Venezuelan winter ball, where he's doing so well that MLB.com and the social media channels had to give him a bit of props. Take a look at those numbers: 337 average and over 900 OPS, a couple dingers to his tally at 3, and RBIs as well. And, you know, it's actually pretty fun to watch. As a Mets fan, some positive Mets news. I feel like after a certain individual was signed about a week ago, the Mets news narrative has died down quite a bit, which I love. But that's besides the point. Luisangel has done so much in such a little time, but he's still 22 years old. And the question now becomes, do you see him on the 2025 roster? Some people say, hey, look, you have to have some youth on the team, especially as some members of the infield are getting older. As I record this, Jeff McNeil and Jose Iglesias are not necessarily not with the team. In the case of Iglesias, he's a free agent, but Jeff McNeil has one more year in his contract, and those guys are definitely north of their mid-30s. Well, you want to add some youth in the infield with someone like Acuna, but there's other people who say, hey, look, the team needs pitching. You want to be able to have the best options out there. You don't want a prospect hug. It's time for us to win now. Would you put him off? Would you ship him off in a package deal? I'm kind of curious to what you think about that. Get up to Brady Farkas here. He really puts this succinctly about what the contributions Acuna has had. He says he's currently listed as a number 12 prospect in the organization by MLB.com. The Mets acquired him in 2023 at the trade deadline in the deal that sent Scherzer to the Rangers, which he got his championship ring, so I guess everyone wins that trade. The versatile 22-year-old made his debut in 24, hitting 308 over 14 games. He popped 3 homers in that limited sample size and drove in 6, and pretty much was regulated to being a bench piece during the playoff run. I do like to see him back with the Mets myself personally, but the fact that he's able to really go to work when need be in the Winter League, keeping his skills sharp, is always cool. Props for the recognition from MLB.com. Elsewhere, Mets land, the Pete Alonso situation just seems to be boiling over because we don't really have any inkling as to whether or not he's going to sign imminently or after the holidays or what. But more and more executives are figuring out that it just seems with the current markets, what the team wants to do, that Pete Alonso is due for a reunion with Queens. A couple days ago, Jim Bowden, who contributes to CBS and at The Athletic, weighed in on his idea about whether or not Pete Alonso was going to be returning to Queens, and he writes, quote, my sources are telling me the Mets would like to bring back Pete Alonso back, who was also a Scott Boras client. Juan Soto, I'm told, was giving assurances that the Mets were going to get another big bat behind him in the lineup for protection. Juan really benefited from having Aaron Judge hidden behind him with the Yankees. I do think bringing back Polar Bear is something I really will want to do. As it is right now on the roster, it's Mark Vientos' role to back up Juan Soto. We're not saying that Mark Vientos isn't capable, but you want to be able to have your lineup as long as possible, and you want to account just in case there is a bit of regression. And of course, it's also a lot of pressure to put on somebody who just found their footing the season prior. So having Pete Alonso as a bat or a threat as a bat can only help you, even though the last 2 years of Pete's career would be considered down years, to say the least. Again, Having him as a first baseman is cool because if you look at the first baseman market, it is pretty thin. Something that Steve Phillips talks about. Steve Phillips is another contributor to the baseball space. You may have seen him on the MLB Network Radio on SiriusXM or MLB.TV. He weighed on this one on December 16th about the Pete Alonso situation. He says, quote, I will be shocked if Alonso doesn't end up with the Mets. I think it's the right fit, and I don't know if somebody will go beyond what the Mets are willing to do. Mind you, the Pete Alonso Foundation has worked with the Mets organization, and that's a non-baseball reason, but it counts just the same. If the Mets truly have interest in Bregman, for example, well, he's represented by Scott Boras. So how do you bluff the agent who represents both players? Feels like a conflict in many, many ways. And I do think the issue here is more like time and annual value, much less than do we want this guy on the team at all. He hits stingers, he has power, he's a threat of power. His chase rate's kind of wonky, if I'm being generous, but you want to have someone like that on your side. And even though there's been rumblings about Walker, we know the Yankees are in on Walker, and Walker is about 5 or 3 to 4 years older than Pete Alonso. So do we have two more executives piling on the side of Pete reuniting with Queens? I do think that's good news. I don't think anyone thinks it's bad news if Pete's stay. I think most people either want him to come back or they're kind of okay if he doesn't. I don't think anyone's like, get this clown off my team. Hopefully Pete makes a decision soon. And lastly, adding to the depth situation and somehow filling in a tertiary goal for David Stearns, the front office, of making a triple A team, Syracuse, be a little bit stronger so it isn't so much of a jump going from triple A to the majors. The Mets add a depth piece in adding Jared Young to a one-year deal. This one here comes from MLB Transaction. Shout out to them. The Mets announced that they have signed infielder Jared Young to a one-year Major League contract. The club has multiple vacancies in the 40-man roster, which is very important. It won't need to make a corresponding move for the ball players. Agency client. Exact financial figures aren't known, but Will Salmon at The Athletic reports that it's a split deal with a 7-figure upside. 29 years old, Young has struggled with strikeouts in his very limited Major League career, but has performed well in the minors and career. And he's pretty much a career minor league player, lastly in the Triple A Cubs organization, and has batted around the career as well, where the numbers aren't that bad. We're talking about 326, 420, 660 over there in Korea. Depth pieces are super important, and sometimes you don't know who's to be the one to come out here and to be a hero for the team. Mind you, Luis Torrens was a depth piece, Jose Iglesias was a depth piece who somehow found their footing in the team. I gotta be a Debbie Downer and say so was Joey Wendell, and so was Zach Short, but hey, we want the best for everyone. The Mets are making moves, even though we're in the throes of winter. I can't wait to see what happens with other things like the Pete Alonso situation and the Sasaki deals. Those are both pending as we roll into the holidays, but things aren't slowing down. It is refreshing to have a team always seem to be tagged to somebody, always seem to be linked to somebody, always seem to be making moves, big ones and small ones. It is a nice change of pace, judged by the Mets teams of my youth and beyond. Well, you reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Mets Digest. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I read them all, positive, negative, and in between. That's all right by me. But until next time, as always, it's LGM to the bitter end.